You guys,
accounts
I had to
of
put this on.
what happened when
I just had
Jesus
to
resurrected.
hear that.
What happened? So you don't really have that. You don't have that in Paul. Now, some people might say, well, you have it in 1 Corinthians 15, but you don't really have the accounts of the women. The women are not even mentioned there. You don't have all that. The empty tomb is not there. That's why is there all this doubting stuff? Like, how did that make it in? This is huge because the Christian Bible was written for one purpose, and that is to convince readers that these events occurred. All this was written so that you might believe. That's how the book of John ends. So the authors are writing to persuade people who might encounter these stories that these are historical, you should believe in them. Then why interlace passages that indicate that people are just very confused about what's happening, what they're seeing? You have more of this prior to Jesus' crucifixion. Matthew 16, who do you say that I am? Nobody knows. Peter knows, but Jesus tells him, no one could have told you this. But we'll leave that aside. Why?
You fucking nigger cunt. God damn you.
28 as an example, when Jesus is, we are told, meeting with the disciples in Galilee. So it says he met the disciples, and when they saw him, they worshipped him, but some doubted it. Like, how did that get in there? Like, why would the author of Matthew, first of all, why would anyone doubt it if he really was there? If they were having a veridical experience, that means they weren't seeing something that they thought was there, but he was just there. Like, why would some people doubt it? And if some people did doubt it, and we can know why people doubt it, why would that ever make it into the Christian Bible? That doesn't seem consistent with what we're presented with in the Christian Bible, that Jesus just appears. If he's there, really there, why would somebody doubt it? Like, you're watching me now, and you presume this is not an AI-generated audio or video that I'm really here. So how is that possible? And the question you asked about is Luke chapter 24. Luke 24 is the resurrection account. And there again, we're told that everything that Jesus appears in a room, the disciples see him eating fish and so on. But the key is that Jesus appears to people who are walking together and they don't recognize him. And they're going like, and Jesus, like, they think he's somebody else. They don't realize who he is. And they're going, did you not hear about what's happened? But they don't recognize him. And then suddenly, after Jesus disappears, suddenly they realize who had accompanied them. So why is that there? Like, so what's being conveyed is, think about it. You have to have a special heart, as you said, to see him, special ears to hear him. You have the same thing in John 20, you have the doubting Thomas passages. In John chapter 21, where they're going out to fish, they're going out to the Sea of Galilee, and in the early morning, Jesus stood. This is after the resurrection. Jesus stood on the shore, but the disciples did not realize it was Jesus. What do you mean they didn't realize it was Jesus? And Jesus, what do you mean they didn't realize it was Jesus? And in the chapter before that, John chapter 20, Mary Magdalene should know what Jesus looks like, Jesus. And in the chapter before it, in John chapter 20, Mary Magdalene should know what Jesus looks like. Right? When Jesus appears to her, she thinks he's the gardener. And then I'm not going to repeat the whole story. John's with the resurrection account is very, very different, totally different than the Synoptic Gospel. Although there are variants in Matthew, Mark, and Luke, there are, but nothing like John. John's a whole different story. If you read John 20 and compare it to Matthew 28, it's just something totally different. But the key is that the body of Jesus is. Okay? So the question is, what did the writers of the New Testament have in mind to include these doubting passages? I mean, even in Acts chapter 1, there's a very interesting passage I think many people overlook. In Acts chapter 1, right at the very opening, we're told that Jesus spent a very long time after his death and resurrection, that he presented himself and gave many convincing proofs that he was alive, and he appeared to them for a period of 40 days. Like, he gave them many proofs that he was alive. Like, how many proofs would you need? Like, why would you need to give him many proofs? If I walked into the room you're in now, like, would you need to say, wait, go out and come back in again? How did this all get in the Christian Bible? That's the real question. Why is it recorded? Why would, if they were there, Jesus bodily resurrected, then why would anybody doubt it in Matthew 28:17? And I'm pushing the envelope here because I'm asking the more provocative question. Why is this all over the Gospels? That people doubted it. When, and the reason why this is important and why this should call our attention, the purpose, the reason why the Christian Bible was written is to persuade people who read it that they should become Christians. So why include something that would cause people to wonder whether the so-called witnesses were having a veridical experience rather than a non-veridical experience? And I'm giving away the answer right there. No doubt Jesus was an historical figure. There really was a person like that who was crucified. And you would be crucified in the empire for committing treason against the empire, for creating some sort of insurrection. Or else the empire wouldn't bother with the crucifixion if you were murder or kidnap. They were concerned about people who were a threat to the empire, and they wanted to make an example out of you. The reason they normally wouldn't bother with crucifixion was because it was a very tedious, very expensive way to execute somebody. It was a horrific way to die, and they wanted to make an example out of you. Now, what happened is that people was somewhat, I think it possibly is Mary Magdalene, rumors begin to move around that somebody claimed that they saw the resurrected Jesus. And I recall when I was in Indonesia, so in 2016, it was March 2016, the biggest pastor in Indonesia, you think of Muslims, but as it turns out, Indonesia has a very large Christian population of, I don't know, 35 million people. So there was this huge, he was the biggest thing in town. He would pack stadiums. His name was Peter the Great. He was huge, just packed stadiums. People loved him. And then many people came to my congregation who used to be members of his church. He was a charismatic guy, the whole deal, and he said he's bringing all of them to Jerusalem. All kinds of stuff. Big money guy. The point is, he suddenly dropped dead. I don't know, it was a heart attack, whatever. He was a young guy. He he was maybe in his 40s. The point is, he dropped dead. He's gone. And that really shocked everyone, because as I said, he was a fairly young guy. And he told them he was taking them to Jerusalem. He'd taken their money. It was a big deal. And what happened within a few days of his death is that these women, and they were all women as far as I can recall, began saying that he appeared to them. His name was called Peter the Great. That's not his real name. He had some Indonesian name, but he went by the name Peter the Great. But these women started saying that he appeared, and people going, "What do you mean he appeared to them? And he appeared to you? Like, what does that mean?" And I went, now I understand what happens here. Historically, what happened is some people claim at some point, a year later, 5 months later, whatever later, somebody says, "I had a vision." You know, in this case, Jesus appeared to me. And then some people started to believe the story and spread the story, but many people doubted it. And when you have in the story of Emmaus, of the people walking Emmaus who don't recognize him, but only recognize him when he's gone, when he disappears, and go, "That's Jesus." Or Mary, only when Jesus calls out to her and says, "Mary," and then she goes, "Rabboni," only then she discovers it. Or what you have the doubting Thomas in John 20 and 21 verse 4, with the disciples why don't they recognize Jesus? Why? Because in the early church, this is the earliest stage of Christianity, people were going, "I don't believe this," just like people today and, I don't know, 100 years ago doubt whether the things that Joseph Smith said were true. Were in fact the encounters he had with the angel Moroni in the early 19th century, although it really happened. Many people said, "I don't think it happened," but there were a few people who said, "Oh, it's true," right? Well, that's very much what happened. So when you find in the Gospels things that don't make sense, they always make sense. And these points in the Gospel are conveying what I think you picked up on, and that is, it was not a heretical experiment, but rather people imagine that their leader, their guru, their spiritual teacher reappeared. This happened in India. There was this fellow who was enormously successful. His name was Sai Sai Baba. This is a miracle guy. This is a guy who had 30 million followers in India. Healed the sick, people who were crippled, blind people, made them see, resurrected people from the dead. This guy was huge. It wasn't that long ago that he died. And he still has millions of followers, right? But there are people who say it did, right? Who didn't, and the other people say it did. So the way to push back is to say, like what you said, and that is that really you have to have eyes that are open, you have to have ears that are open, spiritual eyes, spiritual ears, and it was not a veridical experience. And you can sniff this out in the earliest recorded literature. Going back to Paul, 1 Corinthians. 1 Corinthians is one of the earliest surviving pieces of Christian literature, written in the 50s. It's no doubt from the hands of Paul. What you don't have in 1 Corinthians is an empty tomb. What you do have in 1 Corinthians is Paul never mentioning an empty tomb. So what I think is, and what you have in 1 Corinthians is that Paul is saying that it was a spiritual body that was resurrected, that was very, very different than the body that died, that was a mortal body. He used an example of a seed. What you plant in the ground, that seed dies, and the plant that comes out does something completely different. And to him it was a body, but it was a spiritual body, and that was a much more a Greek idea of what a resurrection was like. The Greeks thought the resurrection was that people had an afterlife, but people didn't come back to their physical body. And
You
so
cocksucking
I think
bitch.
that's what's creeping in.
Fucking
and the book
nigger.
of Mark strangely ends with without the
Where
women
you at,
seeing
faggot?
Jesus, because they're just told that Jesus is risen. He's gone to Galilee, and the women were afraid, said nothing to anyone. That's a weird
Ah,
way
you
to end the book.
fucking
We know
nigger.
verse 9 through 20.
My
That
slush
appears
your
in
fucking
your
throat emoting nigger.
Bible at the end of the book of Mark. Excuse me, it's Mark 16. So those last 12 verses are added in later, and that's what I think is happening there. It's like, so if somebody after so look at the book of Luke was written about
Cocksucking nigger.
85. Let's say
I'm gonna
it's
slit your
written in
fucking
the mid-80s.
throat.
Very conservative.
Cunt.
So it's written in the mid-80s, so Christians
I'm gonna slit your fucking throat, Mojang.
people who are pushing back and saying
I'm gonna cut your
there
fucking
are people
throats.
who really didn't believe
Fucking
this at all.
cocksucking faggots.
So
Blow your
Luke
goddamn
had the
asses up,
gospel,
niggers.
insert that with that people doubted it.
Getting sick of that shit.
They didn't have spiritual life, and they needed a special spiritual
God
life
damn you.
in order to
Oh,
see
someone blows him up.
the resurrected Jesus, and that's a thing that over and over again. Paul talks about the veil of their eyes, verse 1 Peter, you can't see the truth, and 2 Corinthians. So it wasn't a veridical experience that someone just walking around and they're seeing them. Rather, it was somehow a spiritual experience, and that's how people who should have
Fucking
recognized
niggers.
it did not. And that's why the Gospels include that. It includes it as an apologetic against those who said that, well, I was told that he wasn't really there. Well, that's because
Fucking
they didn't have
cocksucker. Get over there,
true
nigger.
spiritual eyes. And
I'm gonna slit your
to
fucking
see this
throat.
crop up, Luke 24 is very concerned about convincing people that Jesus rose from the dead. So Jesus' appearance to the disciples in Jerusalem, he's eating burnt fish with them, asking them, how can I eat and drink? Does the Spirit do this? That's a pushback. And Luke 24 is saying that, read the Torah, read the prophets and writings. In verse 44 through 46, it's predicted that the Messiah would die and rise on the third day. It isn't. It's a phantom passage. That's why it's all there. So all of Luke 24 is an apologetic pushing back really hard against
Stupid
people
nigger.
who are, I think, like Americans in the 19th century, pushed back against the Church of the Latter-day Saints and the claims of Joe Smith. And people go, no. And some people, even Joseph Smith's inner circle, some people are recanting or saying that Joseph Smith isn't the greatest guy. So what do? How does the Church of Latter-day Saints deal with it? They deal with it by addressing that there are people who doubt. And that's exactly why Luke includes this very odd story. Thank you for your question.
Interesting. Very good. Well, I think it used to not crack me up. It used to be really concerning. I used to get really offended.
I'm gonna slit your fucking throats, Mojang. Go straight to your fucking offices, you faggot cunt. I'll fucking cut your heads off if you don't stop this shit. God damn you. I'm gonna slit their fucking throats if they don't knock this shit off. What a bunch of fucking cunts.
Hey, my name is Antonio.
Every goddamn nanosecond these motherfuckers come crawling and hitting me.
My question
I'll fucking kill you.
is about Paul. I personally find him
Goddamn
to be
cocksuckers.
probably the most villainous character.
I'm gonna slit their
in the
fucking
Bible.
throats.
But in Philippians,
I fucking hate those cocksuckers.
the Christians
I'll kill
he's
them.
talking to there,
Anybody gets
rather
stupid, my hackers will
preach
find
the
where you live and
pretense
kill you.
Or in truth,
Don't even fucking think
Christ is
about it.
preached, so why does it matter? But this is very starkly different than the way that he kind of corrects the Galatians. In Philippians, he admits that, if you've heard about Christ and the person that was telling you maybe even said it to go after me politically, basically, as long as you've gotten that Christ is your Lord and Savior, that's the main thing. But in Galatians, the issue is that these Christians have, I guess, heard the wrong message. But what they've heard is not maybe something that was politically disadvantageous to Paul, or maybe it was, but it's this issue of Torah observance. It seems like to me, Paul's kind of okay. Doesn't really matter what you believe in about Jesus, is he the Son or Ra or whatever. As long as you believe he died on the cross for your sins, and he's God, then
Fucking cocksucking niggers.
but do not add any type of Torah observance to your belief in Jesus. And then my last little bit here is, what is going on with Luke? Because I don't know if he's gotten the message or whatever, but the whole thing is that we don't mention the law because Jesus fulfilled it. He's the only one who could be considered righteous, blameless before the law. And then Luke just comes out and says, well, Zechariah and Joseph were righteous before the law in the sight of God.
Okay, go and hang him now, Tony. Thanks so much for your call.
Good question.
All right.
He's really good. Whoever you are, you're good. Those are very good questions. So, in Philippians, in the first chapter of Philippians, Paul is saying that regardless of what motivates people to preach and spread Christianity,
Sick of
the
this
gospel
kind of
is
shit.
preached, whether in pretense and if they're boastful, but the gospel is still preached. Paul does not have a high bar for how the gospel is preached. In 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 20 through 22, Paul concedes that
Never use
he
gravel
will
anyway,
preach
so I
the
use that to
gospel
block
in
it.
any way necessary to convert people to Christianity, and he'll engage in evangelism that is very different when speaking to a Jew, someone who's under the law, and someone who's not under the law, a Gentile. And he concedes that he is not under the law. So those who are under the law, I become as one who's under the law, even though I'm not under the law. So there's Paul admitting that he's not under the law. It literally says that. People don't see that. And he says all things to all people. I don't care how it gets out, but it needs to get out. Galatians is a very different kind of book. Another book that is no doubt from the hand of Paul. Paul is angry. Paul has been to these churches in what is modern-day Asia Minor. He set up a whole bunch of churches, and the book of Galatians, unlike other letters of Paul, is written to many churches. Paul went there. He made many people convert to Christianity, and then after he left those churches, he moved on. Other Christians came there and told him that they had to keep Torah, and Paul does not like that at all. And that's what's happening there. He's telling the churches that he set up initially, who, you idiots, who bewitched you? Literally, he says to them in Galatians chapter 3, the most important chapter of the 6 chapters of Galatians. So Paul is not interested in how it's done, and in fact, in Galatians chapter 3, Paul is he's going to make up a whole bunch of stuff himself. In 3:16, you can see, notice it says in Genesis, seed, not seeds. And that's silly because in Hebrew, in biblical Hebrew, there's no way to say seeds. It's zera, zaracha. Your seed means many. It's like sheep. It's an irregular plural. Like in English, you don't say sheeps, right? You have one sheep or many sheep. There's a whole bunch of sheep out here, right? Right? Oh, it says sheep and not sheeps. You know? Well, they're dumb. So he's lying to them straight away. In Galatians 3, Paul is saying to them that the law was given by angels. By angels. That's a complete lie. Stephen's going to make the same kind of, in the book of Acts, is going to regurgitate. I don't believe Stephen's a real historical figure, but whatever, let's say he was. The idea that the law was given directly, that's a lie. It's totally a lie. The Torah was given directly by God, and the reason he's willing to lie is because he wants to diminish the Sinaitic covenant. He wants to diminish the value of the Torah. The whole point of Galatians is that the earlier covenant, Paul argues, that God made with Abraham was based on faith. And how could a later inferior covenant made with Sinai through angels, how could that override? If I have an agreement with you, and there's a second contract, well, how could the second contract override the first contract? The first contract is what holds. As though they're competing with each other. This is dark. This is dark. This is bad. That's what's all going on in Galatians. And then, not only the second covenant, but it was given through angels, meaning a messenger. Therefore, it is inferior. Totally made up. There's a lot of lying going down there. So Paul is very angry in the book of Galatians, this letter to the Galatians, that they have taken someone else's word for it rather than his word for it. And he's so angry at them. He's so bitter at them. Paul was someone who, like Paul, he was in. You've met people like this. People who are such a narcissist. They just have. Aren't the people you met who just you can't even bear to be in the same room for more than a few seconds, and you just need to get out of there? That was Paul. He could not get along with people. I think that's why Paul had female companions with him, is because women, I believe, were less likely to challenge him than men. He couldn't get along with Peter in the same book, in Galatians 2. He told off Peter to his face in Antioch. Let's say they got into a fight, which is very likely they did. Why would you make that up? Why would you repeat that? Because he wants to say that I'm the chief apostle, that I have this directly from Jesus Christ. That's what the first two chapters of Galatians are about. So Galatians is a very different kind of work. It's the second most important epistle of Paul, and in it he's conveying that what he has is supreme, and what they told you is wrong, and you have been fooled. And as I mentioned in chapter 4, Paul comes to them, and how could you? Do you remember when I was sick? Remember when I came to last time and I wasn't feeling well? Remember how you took care of me? You treated me like I was an angel of God, like I myself was Jesus Christ. He literally says that. Who talks that way? Got it? So in Galatians, he's very much saying he is the chief apostle. Now, this goes on in Paul's letters a lot. This will go on a lot in Philippians chapter 3, the same book we talked about. So Paul is committed to saying, look, if people are converted to the proper iteration of Christianity, it doesn't matter if the person was both full, had poor character, but the message is correct, so then the gospel is preached, whether in pretense or truth. In 1 Corinthians 9, you could be a chameleon, and it doesn't make a difference. The point is, behave like a Jew to the Jews, and that's what's going on not only here in Israel but around the world. People are evangelizing others dependent on their ethnicity and culture. I mean, they have at major Christian universities what's called studying indigenous missions. What is that? What's indigenous? Is learning how to convert people in their own culture. That's what the whole messianic, that's what the whole convergence. What is that? What, at major Christian universities, what's called studying indigenous missions. What is that? What's indigenous? Is learning how to convert people in their own culture. That's what the whole messianic, That's what the whole Messianic movement is. It's about converting people in their own culture. So Paul gives the green light for that, and that's going on all over the place. But the whole Messianic movement, it's just a complete, it's a Christian movement. So that's the difference. Paul is very angry, personally angry. Like, you took someone else's word for it rather than me, and when you met me the first time, you thought I was like, you treated me like I was Jesus Christ. Literally said that. I asked you, like, weird talk. Like, what are you talking about? Who talks that way? And I think that is highly consistent with, Paul having trouble getting along with people in the book of Acts. And you might ask yourself the question, well, why do I point to Christian literature that I don't believe in? No, because I believe that the most rigorous method for determining if anything in the Christian Bible is historical is the criteria of embarrassment. Nothing even comes close to that. So in the Christian Bible, which I don't believe it, doesn't mean there's nothing historical in it. There's nothing that actually happened. And if anything happened, how would I know if it actually is historical or not, or it's myth? You need rigorous methodology, and I think that the only really rigorous methodology is something that's very embarrassing. It would be very embarrassing that the man who introduces Paul to the Jerusalem church, Barnabas, Paul doesn't want anything to do with him. They break up. And he won't travel with John Mark, his cousin. It's just inconceivable to me that that's made up. Paul's anger at Peter for being a hypocrite. What was the anger at? This is Galatians 2. That he behaved one way for the Jews and one way for the non-Jews. That's exactly what Paul said he should do. So I think that's the difference. The primacy of Paul is everything, and what I have is direct from Jesus Christ. And just know, I was on the other side. I persecuted Christians. I don't fully believe it. I think he's exaggerating that, and I certainly don't believe there's any guy like Stephen who was executed, put to death, and Paul had a hand in it. I believe that story is created to have he's not a disciple, but to have a follower die the way Jesus died. Stephen uses the same kind of language and asking God to forgive them. They don't know what they're doing. And it's to show that Paul was a hostile witness. He was convinced, so could you. So that's how you break about Paul. Paul was, in these cases, as long as it was his terminology that was being preached, even by someone who was ingenuous, insincere, that was fine. But it better be his iteration of Christianity and not the iteration of Christianity that was competing with him, namely those who were saying that in order to be a Christian, he didn't use that term, but in order to be a Christian, you need to be circumcised. And that's what his opponents were saying. And Paul won. That means his understanding of Christianity was adopted by the church, and unfortunately everyone lost. Because in order for Paul to win, idolatry had to spread. And tragically, the church is an example of how the world was taken away from God because it adopted Paul's views. But there are days that are coming soon that the nations will reject and will speak Besopha Beruda in a pure speech. Zephaniah chapter 3, verse 9. Thank you so much for your question.
Yeah, I don't think anybody can hear me watching either. So now we've got us all. Go ahead with your question now.
Can you hear me now?
Let me say this and tell me where you disagree, because I don't want to mess up what you're saying. So, I assume you're talking about, as an example, Matthew 22, right?
I think so.
Right? Which is the greatest commandment? So, love the Lord your God with all heart, soul, might, verse 37. All right, so...
No, you sack up.
it is clear,
Shite.
so that's not really the Ten Commandments, right? Because Ten Commandments is Deuteronomy 5, not 6. But if you look at the Christian Bible, 9 of the 10 commandments are supported. The only commandment that is unsupported in the Christian Bible, and thank you for your question, let's just do that. The only commandment that's unsupported from the 10 commandments is the one, guess, which one is it? You figure it out. It's the Sabbath. Why? Because that's a ritual commandment. And the church is going to teach that you don't have to keep the Sabbath any longer. Paul is going to teach this. Paul is going to say, literally, let no one tell you about keeping the new moons and the Sabbath. Literally, he's going to say that. Shabbos is done. Colossians chapter 2, verse 16. So it should not surprise you that 9 of the 10 commandments can be traced in the Christian Bible. The one that's absent is the one you'd expect to be absent, that's Shabbat. And in the stories of the Gospels, one of the chief arguments by Jesus' adversaries, the antagonists in the Gospels, the Jews, is that Jesus and the disciples are not keeping the Sabbath. Now, you can argue, and you'd actually make a very good argument, that the Christian Bible is not saying in those stories that you don't have to keep the Shabbat. And Jesus is using all kinds of rabbinic ideas to explain why they're technically not violating the Sabbath. They were hungry on Shabbos, that's why they were picking grain on the Sabbath day. That's right in the beginning of Mark. In John chapter 7, you can circumcise a baby even on Shabbos, right? So, but it's Shabbos is being pushed against, So that's the only commandment that is not in the Christian Bible, because the Christian Bible is, for the most part, antinomian. It's against ritual commandments. So it's not against the prohibition of murder. It's not against the prohibition of stealing or adultery.
Get the flip over,
Not against
you
any of
idiot.
those. It is specifically about Shabbat, ritual law. And Paul's view is that you didn't have to keep it anymore. And what's vital is that in Paul's view, the reason no one has to keep it any longer is not because his audiences were made up of non-Jews who wouldn't be obligated to keep the Shabbat, but because the law was never meant to be kept. Its purpose was just to be a schoolmaster, as Paul says in Galatians. It's just to get you to know that you're a sinner, and so that would drive you to the cross. That the law was only a shadow. What's a shadow? A shadow is nothing, right? A shadow, somebody says, "Oh, everything is made of atoms," right? And then the kid asks her dad, "Oh, what are shadows made of?" Well, it's really the absence of light, right? Shadow isn't made of something. It's just the shadow is created when light is removed, right? So shadow is nothing. The law is nothing. Again, this is only talking about ritual commandments. The law is nothing, and why have it? Paul does not say the reason you have to keep these commandments is because you're not Jewish, or no, it's because the law was just a shadow, and the essence is Christ. Now, I don't know who wrote the book of Hebrews. It was written anonymously. It was definitely not written by Paul. But it is Pauline. It's a letter that is much more systematic than Paul's. Paul's letter is better written than Paul's letters. It's much more careful than Paul's letters. But there's a reason why there were Christians who at one point believed that the book of Hebrews was written by Paul, and that's why it was included in the canon. And that is, the book of Hebrews is using Pauline language.
This one is what I need.
Like Hebrews chapter 10, that the law is a shadow. You have the same idea in Hebrews chapter 8. So that's the key. So Shabbat represents ritual commandments. It's the one that represents ritual commandments, and therefore it has to go. It has to be weakened in the Gospels. Now, be ready for this. When you talk to Christians about what you just heard, they go, "Oh," and here it goes, and then they're going to hand you the Sermon on the Mount. I'm just telling you now. Jesus, Sermon on the Mount is in Matthew 5-7. Jesus said, "I didn't come. Do not think that I came to destroy the law, but to fill it. Anyone changes one jot or to the law, at least in the kingdom of heaven." What does that mean? Well, Christians argue about what that means. Most Christians believe that Jesus fulfilled it for us. What does that mean? Go figure it out. So that's how it'll be argued. But the church, the vast majority of the church, except for some pronomian sects that are considered cults, consider the ritual law to be done away with. Okay, thank you for your question.
Very good. We'll go and move into the next caller. Caller, you're live on the air. Please tell us your name and where you're calling.
Hi, this is Raphaelia from South Georgia.
Welcome back.
Georgia.
Thank you. Yes, Rabbi, my question is concerning Jeconiah's son, Shealtiel. In two of the Gospels, he's mentioned. I don't know if this is anywhere in the Torah where he was forgiven, but could he have been forgiven and yet the curse not removed because there were no kings after Jeconiah, correct?
No, there were, but the next king was his uncle. So I know this will sound, and I'm not trying to sell you books, but I cover this extensively in my in volume 1 of Let's Get Biblical. So there were kings. So Jeconiah is king, and none of his descendants sat on the throne of David. Is that what you mean to say?
Yeah, none, because Shealtiel is a descendant, right?
But he's not king.
Right, but he was not king. So did Hashem forgive Jeconiah, but yet
Well, you're good. All right. God bless you. I'll address it.
Rocker, go ahead and hang him down to the answer. Thank you. Go ahead.
God bless you.
Forgive Jeconiah, but yet
Well, you're good. All right. God bless you. I'll address it.
Rocker, go ahead and hang him down to the answer. Thank you. Go ahead.
You are good. You are good. And sometimes I'm asked a question, I don't even know which way to take it. Okay. Jeconiah, terrible, terrible Davidic king. Just horrible person. Okay? He's so bad that Jeremiah curses him in chapter 22 and says that you will be childless. What does that mean? He had kids. That none of your descendants will sit on the throne of David. Okay? This is very interesting. And as it turns out, no descendant of Jeconiah ever sat on the throne of David, and Jeconiah's heir, the person that become king after Jeconiah, was taken away to Bavel, to Babylon, is his father's brother, Yehoiachin. Almost sounds like Yehoiachin. So, as it turns out, none of Jeconiah's descendants was ever king. The last king was Tzidkiyahu, Zedekiah. Zedekiah is taken away, and that's the end of the first Commonwealth. Okay? So this gets very
Ooh, I got goodies.
Okay. There are many opinions about what happened to Jeconiah once he is taken to Babel. And there is a very strong tradition that when he's carried off by Nebuchadnezzar, he was thrown into a prison where he was alone. And one of the maddening things about being in jail about being in a prison is you're really alone. And he didn't have a wife, so he's in a prison alone. And he's such a small prison that he was like in the worst possible situation, the kind of stuff you'd see in a movie. Whatever reason, the Gemara tells that Nebuchadnezzar's wife said,
God damn you,
not
depression.
right, you should take it
Fuck
to the
you.
king, bring him here, he doesn't have his wife.
God.
Nebuchadnezzar wanted to sleep with his wife. Why says, this guy's sitting in prison without his wife? Bottom line is, Nebuchadnezzar orders that Jeconiah's wife be lowered into this very narrow, very small prison. As you can imagine, he was alone, and now his wife
Thank you very much.
was there, and you'd think that he would want to be intimate with her, but as it turns out, at the time, unbeknownst to anyone but Jeconiah and his wife, he discovers that she's not clean. She was, during the period, she didn't go to the mikvah, she was not. And Jeconiah, at an act of contrition, says, it's forbidden for me to be with you. So he had a guy who was really bad. And this is very, very in style with Tanakh. When Tanakh describes to us people who repent, or in the Talmud, people who repent, it's like they're the worst people in the world. And what happens is, so she's taken away because he can't be intimate with her. She's returned back to him and conceived. So God forgives him, okay, according to this view. Now, if you don't have the Talmud and all you have is the Bible, so none of Jeconiah's descendants ever sit on the throne of David. Zerubbabel was born in Babylon, whose name indicates that it literally means he was conceived, was seated in
Fucking gonna go blow my goddamn brains
was
out. I
returned,
hate
but
this
he's
shit.
not made a king. He's a governor. So first, I want to make sure I explain this a little bit. So there's a big problem with Matthew's genealogy, because Matthew's genealogy and Luke's genealogy, Matthew's genealogy is problematic. Matthew's genealogy is problematic because Matthew lists Jeconiah as the 28th generation from Abraham. So if Jeconiah was in fact Jesus' ancestor, then how could Jesus sit on the throne of David? Because it's a cursed genealogy. No descendant of his would ever sit on the throne of David. And if what we find in Matthew chapter 1, if that is in fact a reliable record of Jesus, then Jesus can't be the Messiah because Jeconiah is in there. Got it? So this is very interesting. Christians, how do they deal with this? Okay, so now you understand. So some Christians would argue, well, that's why Jesus was born to a virgin. Josh McDowell argues this. Why did Jesus have to be born a virgin? In order to sidestep, in order to avoid the curse of Jeremiah 22. But then why, if Jesus is not really a descendant of David through Matthew's genealogy that we encounter right in the beginning of the New Testament, then why list it? What is it there for? That problematic. But what Christians do routinely is condemn the Talmud. Have you ever heard this? I know you've never heard this in your life. So let me clue you in on this. Christians routinely claim that they're not Talmudic Jews. They don't believe in the oral law of the Jews. Routinely. I know you never heard such an idea in your life. I know this is all new to you. You never heard of it. But right now, just take my word for it. They deny the authority of the oral law, of the oral tradition. But this rejection evaporates, disappears whenever they need a life raft, whenever they need to get themselves out of trouble. This is an example. So, according to this tradition, is Jeconiah does tshuva in prison, and God forgives him. And therefore the Messiah not only can, but will come from him, come directly from Zerubbabel. Okay? Do Christians jump all over this? You bet. Do do Christians become nauseous because they're using the Talmud to rescue themselves from the Bible? No, they love doing this. They love it. They love doing this stuff. It doesn't bother them because it's all a method. What am I going to tell you? So they will then say, but the Talmud says that Jeconiah was forgiven. Now, you know what happens in a cover-up? So I'm old enough to remember Watergate, and some of you are old enough to remember what happened to Nixon as well. And the big story in Watergate was not so much of the break-in, but the cover-up, right? It was the cover-up. So what happens is when you cover up, you run into problems because you can't keep track of everything. So if for a moment we say, okay, we're going to depend on this opinion in Talmud, which I would say is like a consensus opinion, it's a very strong view. The church raises, that means they've gotten themselves out of trouble here, but you know what happens when you, with a cover-up is you produce all sorts of other problems that are actually existential. So relying on the Talmud that Jeconiah was forgiven creates two problems that make that problem minor. Problem number one is the Talmud says that Jeconiah was forgiven in exile because he repented as if God forgave him. The problem is that in Christian theology that's not possible. In Christian theology, no one's obedience, no one's repentance, no one's works, no one's effort, no one's initiative could save you. No one. If what I'm saying to you right now sounds odd, sounds strange, I never heard that before, that means you've never been in a church in your life. Okay? Right now it's in the morning in the United States, and right now there are millions of Christians in church in North America, right now. In South America, right now. It's Sunday morning somewhere, all over the Americas. People aren't in churches. This is what they're hearing. They're hearing that your works, your initiative, nothing you can do to save yourself. Nothing. You're unless you're a sinner. And you need Jesus. You never heard this before? That means you grew up and never left Borough Park, Brooklyn. Every Christian knows this. And there are a lot of Christians who are listening to me right now, watching right now, who don't know what to do with me, and they're going, well, he is telling the...
Hold on, guys, I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Yow. Hold on, y'all have to give me a minute. Hold on.
It was a little more positive, but that doesn't sell in our society. So they came up with it. This got changed. It was this got changed. It was treasure hunters or fed treasure hunters, and it got changed very recently.
Plus, Netflix has to market it. I think more people will tune in. Like, oh, some people got crazy. Let's see. I think super chat from our old friend. So if the family is supportive, there's 0% chance the truth comes out, or he's the mind out. Yeah, I probably agree with that, Chad. I mean, there's a very strong possibility that this documentary will have nothing new for us, for those that lived through the Thrill of the Chase. Nothing new at all, just a recap of what we already know. And for me, that would be okay. Like, this documentary is not, I hate to say it, but this documentary, in my opinion, is not for truth and answers. It's to get Forrest Fenn's story of the Thrill of the Chase out to millions of people. And those are two very different things.
Okay, so I went and basically, if you go to our last show where I said, oh, it's based on the Ben Wallace article and here's the players involved, all that's right, so let's not go over all. I don't want to read the entire set of articles. Basically, I was right about that, not that I'm right about everything all the time, but I don't want to read all of these in length. I have just highlighted with a red underline the parts that I think, like, we know it's a 24-line poem, but on March 27th, so 27 is the date. So why don't you read the sentence and then let's talk about it.
On March 27th, the thrilling and perilous journey of these treasure hunters unfolds in the new docuseries Golden Greed, The Hunt for Fenn's Treasure, directed and co-executive produced by Jared McGilliard. Over 3 parts, it offers a rare glimpse into a quest for a prize that was not only real, but actually found. And the mystery of its future hiding spot remains tantalizingly uncertain.
So, the mystery of its future hiding spot, what does that say to you, Mike?
I didn't catch the word future. You're right, that is another treasure hunt. To me, that means there is a piece of the original Forrest Fenn treasure that is going to be hid in the future, unless it already has. But and the mystery of its future hiding spot remains. Yeah, I think that's what that means.
They teased it. It's here. The part that I said maybe Justin's hunt. Justin said he was doing a hunt in the Ben Wallace if he ever got a hold of the treasure and the pieces. He kept back several items. Is the chest going to be one of them? I know he needs that mystery behind the wood. Maybe he's passing that mystery on to someone else. Mike! This is so exciting.
Yeah, I mean, it says it was not only real but actually found, and the mystery of its future hiding spot. I mean, yeah, that it means there's something. That's something new right there for everybody. So if you think there's going to be something new in the dock, it's definitely something new right there. All right. So, and I'm excited. I mean, it's going to be awesome. I think. Do you really need that many executive producers? Jeez, how many people does it take? It's a lot.
You know what? I actually think many people don't realize it. To make a award-winning documentary, like I made a bunch of cuts and edits and put it together. I was so out of my field. Each of these people have, like Dave from American Treasure, he's a colorist. All he does is put a particular color, and I say all he does, he makes it look magical. They have a color, like there's so many people and so many expertises. I think it's awesome. Okay.
All right, let's continue. There's
The sound, we got a super chat and we can play one of the sound ones.
Oh, gotcha. All right, we'll do it at the end. Do the sound work.
Okay.
There's Cynthia looking like the Cheshire Cat right there.
See, I think this makes her look sweet and innocent and like, I won't say homely because she's not, she's a beast. It does not show hardcore treasure hunting beast that she is. I do have to say, I love the picture of Forrest, but her expectations looks too sweet and innocent, and we know she's not. And so that's what I can't wait for the trailer. These stills are awesome, but
So, if there was a thought bubble over each one, so for Cynthia, it's I'm gonna go find it tomorrow. And Forrest, no, you're not.
And what about Child on the back?
What's he looking at? Too bad we can't zoom in. Is that a thrill of the chase or is that the map? Look, there's a circle right there, so maybe that's the map of where it's located. Shiloh's like, you hit it where? I'm at home. You hit it where? So Cynthia's like, I'm gonna go get it tomorrow. Forrest's like, no, you're not. And Shiloh's like, you hit it where? That's funny. It will be if they're gonna show a lot of the old footage like this off the hard drive. I mean, that'll be fun just to see whoever's in it, whoever.
No, this is a video. This is a video, and this is from February. The video is in the episodes, and they took a still from it. So we're actually going to be able to. I don't think it's just posing for a picture. I think it's an actual video. I might be wrong though, but super cool. Super cool.
Yeah, for sure. Release date. Okay, directed by Jared McGilliard and produced by Vox Media Studios and Nomadika Films. Golden Green follows the decade-long pursuit of 80-year-old Forrest Fenn's treasure and the people who gave up everything, including their jobs, family, and entire lives, to find it. So you think that's just negative, Caitlin?
I know they need to bring the allure in, and I think there's some. Yeah, I mean, it's not positive that people gave up their jobs and lives. I know that I am actually happy to hear that they have some things that they will cover because I think it would be wrong to only talk about the positive and all of that. How they do it, like I can tell you, when Pastor Wallace passed away, right? Talked with Forrest, and I would love to see her statement. She was very positive about what the hunt brought Pastor Wallace, but and things would happen and that all of that. But I hope they don't focus too much on it. It might draw someone to watch it, but I hope the entire thing is not about like wasn't the recent 48 hours or whatever it was. All they did was go over every searcher's death. I don't think that's what they're doing here, but they're sure selling it like that, which is.
But for me, is that a factual statement? And yes, it is. There are people in the chase who gave up everything, including their jobs, families, and lives. So if that's what Netflix wants to focus on, I mean, they have to make it watchable for other people. You just don't go, hey, here's 5 people who went boots on the ground twice. They didn't find anything. And then the credits roll. That's not fun. That's not, you know what I mean? They've got to sensationalize it, and they're going to use the people that went to the extreme to do it.
So if we have 3 50-minute episodes, that's 150 minutes. I am hoping out of the 150 minutes, the majority is not on the negative part. I'm hoping the majority is about what Forrest did, how great it was. We hear and we have character arcs of the 4 main players. We hear from the family. We hear from the estate attorney. We see a little bit of us. I think Mike's soundboard's going to make it in. You never know. Okay, just to catch everybody up.
Won't that be something?
Just to catch everybody up. Wait, Justin's doing a treasure hunt. Yes. Go read the article that this docuseries is based off of. And yes, in my opinion, absolutely this confirms where it is going to be hidden again. And so, yes, that is the case.
What did that actually say? It said the uncertain future. Makes it sound as if maybe there's a little cliffhanger at the end. Is there going to be another treasure hunt? I don't know. I mean, it says uncertain future, so we'll see what that means. But again, there's no way I can slam this doc because I haven't seen it yet. We're all going to watch it. I don't care who you are. You will be there the day it drops watching it with popcorn, just like we all will.
Okay, and this is where I think it's important to understand the majority versus the minority. I got at least 10 to 15 messages today.
Don't run with me,
Woo-hoo,
bitch.
So excited, just saw the Netflix release. This is so awesome. I was a part of that hunt back in the day. I haven't been around a while. Do you know what's going on? And I converse with people I haven't conversed with in years. But there are a couple people that it's going to be negative. But that part isn't the majority. Like, are we going to talk about the 1%? Or are we going to focus more on, I think some people are really excited I think it's setting expectations. I know some thought, because of some people's thoughts, that this was going to give us the location and a lot of things that just aren't the case. And I said, over time, and so some people set their expectations so high, like that video and other things. It's a doc for the masses, and it's a really cool adventure. Why were you at Treasure Hunt? It's a really cool adventure, and I think they'll do a good job in covering it. I think it'll be not a nothing burger to us, but I think we won't be as shocked watching it if you've never heard of the hunt than others. So, but the few that have already thought negative, we're not going to change their mind by saying it. So I can talk about it. So let's keep it positive.
I'm just saying I don't understand it. All right, Chad Bird, $25. Says Cynthia clearly had an area like 9 Mile Hole was one of her main focuses, as seen in her war room. Never been in that room. She had all her maps. Forrest Fenn lied, chose Jack Stoof. But why? I want to know. I want to know why. I wish we could demand the truth. Well, unfortunately, we can't demand the truth, Chad. We just can't. We can ask, but we can't demand it. And I don't think there's going to be any truth like that in the Netflix doc. I just personally, I don't. But that's okay. For me personally, for Calazars, who's been in this thing for a very long time, the Forrest Fenn doc is about Forrest Fenn and his legacy, which is what Forrest Fenn wanted to begin with. So if 1 million people over the next year are going to see this doc about Forrest Fenn and what he did, that's good. I'm satisfied. And yeah, they're going to talk about some crazy searchers and crazy things they did and all that, and maybe there's a treasure hunt at the end, but at the end of the day, it's about Forrest Fenn and getting his name out here because he's the one who started all this. Without Forrest Fenn, there's no JCB in his hunt. Without Forrest Fenn, there's no Calazars on YouTube, right? That's why I started. So it's really about Forrest. I hope, I do believe that he will be painted in a positive light, and that the treasure hunt will be painted as a positive thing. But for every positive, there's a negative, and hey, maybe there's some searchers that went overboard. But I think overall, it's a positive. Packer Jack. Thank you, Mike and Christy, for believing in my experience. You did. You know the truth. I leave it.
This one idiot thinks he solved it, lies to people. I cannot stand the
turd.
turd.
Go ahead, K-Pro. You wanted to say something. Thanks, Packer Jack.
Yeah, Packer, I think a lot of people have been through a lot of things, and he's one of them. And it's not goodbye. It's just until things settle, and I hope you'll be back. Okay, there's several people in the chat, and you got enough super chats. You got to do a soundboard, but I can't believe I'm saying do a nice one. Don't be naughty. Okay, there's several people that have questions, so let me pause for a second. Do you know if Jack Stoof can be in the doc? Wait for the next question, please. I will answer that as Tony. I will show you what it says, and then we can guess.
That guy's, I can't stand that idiot.
They asked for, I don't know, a handful of our...
He didn't solve that shit. Lying motherfucker.
When Forrest passed, we went live. When the treasure was found, we went live. When Jack's name was outed, we went live. Those are some of the things that they've asked for. We don't know what they're including. They just asked for the rights, and we didn't take those down. We were not okay with that. So it's still up, but you're going to see some we're in it in a tiny, tiny way. I mean, the big dogs are the top 4, which we're really excited.
If anything, I hope the breaking news sound clip is in it.
Never heard of a Max.
That could be related to somebody, but I won't say who. Yeah, see, I have to listen to these because some of them.
3D Braun says, don't like crazy, quote, gave up their lives. There were accidents, and those who tragically lost their lives searching didn't choose to lose their lives, nor do I think they anticipated it. Right, I agree with you. I think they're, just like Forrest said, people go to the Grand Canyon to be shut down, people being able to go to the Grand Canyon. People are in, yeah, so you're preaching to the choir, preaching to the choir. Okay.
It's Copper Dan in it. Copper Dan wants to know. Chad Bird with the $5 super chat. What is Packer Jack talking about? What did I miss? There's been a little bit of history between searchers. That's always going to happen. It's human nature. We're not going to get into it. But Packer Jack, I hope the goodbye didn't mean you're done. I mean, we're going to have a lot to talk about after the done, right?
Okay, so I will say, because Packer Jack, I did get a message. There's some people that are more affected, and I don't know all the history. I know some people are really negative right now, and that affects people, and that makes people step away. So it's unfortunate that that's happening. But I would just say, and I said this on the Discord when people started into the, choose what you don't want to watch, and don't watch it then. I mean, and it keeps you more in a positive space, or at least it does for me. But again, love Packer Jack. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. We'll be here all night then.
And maybe Netflix will be like this.
No, you've had your limit today. You drink water.
I hope not. I hope that wasn't live audio. Okay, what's next? Back to the PowerPoint. All right.
Yes, back to the PowerPoint. There's only 3 or 4 pieces that I really want to talk about, but I think they're informational. Okay, we did that one.
The hunt dates back to 2010 when fan and art dealer and author hid a fantastical treasure in the mountains north of Santa Fe, New Mexico. The twist, however, and the key to finding it lie within a cryptic 24-line poem that has the treasure hunt community obsessing over the meaning of truth and the pursuit of gold, of course. What does the meaning of truth mean to you?
I think it's a nice way of saying what were the lies and bullshit and what is actually true. And we know that there's some of that people need to, well, look right now. Some people absolutely believe Forrest called off the hunt. Some people say, no, he didn't, Jack found it. And then there's people everywhere in between. It's their truth. They believe it because they're not lying. But there has been some of that. And what was actually shared and wasn't, like Dale's Drive. When he dropped those emails, that sure did put a lot of light into some things. So I think this means they're going to get into that. The controversy of the ending and what is the truth and what really happened. I mean, do you remember the first time we really believed Jack found it in September of 2019 and moved to Puerto Rico and left it while a searcher died? That was unbelievable. Now, it's the truth, in my opinion.
Netflix will take viewers on the nail-biting journey of treasure hunting in 3 50-minute episodes, and will also show fans something rare, a hunt where the treasure is actually found, along with the mystery of where it may be hidden again. And yeah, that obviously is a continuation of the Thrill of the Chase, where it may be hidden again, and I think that is, it says may or uncertain because they want you to tune in. You got to find out by watching what that means. It's a teaser. I like it. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, I think that's
Where the treasure is actually found.
Tune in and find out. Maybe it'll be in the trailer. Maybe, but I think they're gonna tease it in the trailer, and it'll be dropped. I think probably at the end of episode 3 is my guess. I don't know. Okay. Kelsar, did Jack's emails get deposed in the lawsuit? Wouldn't there have been a nudge email? Yeah, the guy that sued and got the emails only requested the one email account, even though Jack obviously had more than one. So no, I think they were, yeah, that's true. Hopefully they dive into that. And yes, so unbelievable is right. Thank you, Davio. Okay, keep going. There's a picture of Justin. I think that's 9 Mile Hole. I'm not sure. That could be the legacy. I don't know. No, I think it's.
Aha, here's a new one. I have not read this before. We suspect the new documentary will cover the numerous lawsuits that were lodged against Mr. Fenn. And that's part of the story. I mean, it really is. So, if they're trying to paint the picture of how it went down, that would be one thing that should be in there, in my opinion.
to do this for Nikki. But I'm only going to do this once, guys. So the main characters are, of course, Forrest. Then we have Justin. I did this on the last show if you want to see the PowerPoint. Justin, Cynthia, Lou, and Chris and family. Chris, the brother, and then the dad. Those are the main characters. Then we have IIWII. His name is Eric. We have ATK. I think some of their videos are going to be in there. Some of our videos are going to be in there. Shiloh, Zoe, and Carl. Carl is the estate attorney. Smell the Sunshine. There's somebody else I'm missing. Dale, I think if they're using his drive, they're going to use him. That's all I can think of.
But again, anything could have been. All those people were filmed, or they could be using their clips, but any of it could have been edited. So a lot of the fun is going to be who did make it in the final cut. And it's going to be fun. We should have a drinking game. Every person that you see that you know and have met in person, you take a drink or something.
Oh no, that would be bad. If they're putting like Fenbury and things like that in there, you're going to see a lot of people in the background. And when you see them in the background, they're going to be people that we know. I know all four of the main people. I think everybody who's been involved, but I don't. Here's one guess though. I don't think they're going to call out the lawsuits specifically. I think they're just going to say in general, this lawsuit made this happen. I don't think they're going to call them out by name, even though they.
What if they interviewed each of the people that filed the lawsuit? That'd be great. Let's hear that side of things.
No.
Chad Bird goes Yellowstone. Going to let them show the spot. My guess would be no, but again, we don't know. These are all questions, and that's why it'll be fun to watch.
Well, they did get permission, and I brought this up last time, but I still think it's so funny. Tony Rusi came on, I think it was AGK, and said, yeah, I just saw them with a big film crew, and it was the Nookers, which is Cynthia, Justin, those are the big ones. And they were filming at 9 Mile Hole, so I think there is definitely going to be discussion of 9 Mile Hole. Now, how much they got, how much was cleared, that kind of stuff. I know there were some challenges of soil sampling they did from permits and things, so, because Netflix Legal had to clear all of this. So, if they don't have full releases, they don't have the owner's permission, they don't have permits, they don't have whatever, it doesn't get included. So that's why we have Cynthia's video that's coming out just after the airing, and she's going to lay it down.
Yeah, that should be interesting. Okay. Some of the confirmed people to be featured in the doc from the released pictures thus far include Chris Hurst and family, notable searchers who were skeptical about the official ending to the treasure hunt. Justin Posey, someone tied to Jack Stoof, who claimed to find the treasure.
Okay, so there's two things. I think this is a really good thing, that this is not going to be a 9-mile hole and that's it. I think it is going to be no huli. Those cameras were put up illegally, so I do not think they can be utilized. Okay. Skeptical about the ending of the hunt. I think this is good, that it's not going to just be a 9-mile hole. I think two of the main searchers out of the four, 2 of them are 9-mile holers and 2 of them aren't. And I think it's good that they're going to bring it to the side of...
These people were so off. That dude never found that shit.
And I think that's a good thing. What do you think about that part before we get to the second?
Yeah, it's good to try and represent all sides. You can't because there's so many different opinions, but to give just a general, here's 9 Mile Hole, here's another theory, that's good. And it lets people understand in the non-Forrest Fenn world that, there were other people that have other ideas. As soon as the general population, Gen Pop, if you will, as soon as Gen Pop hears that Forrest didn't come out with a solution of who found it, and then they hear how it had to be derived from a court case with emails, they're probably going to flip out. Be like, what in the world? This is the craziest thing I've ever heard. We'll see how it's received by the general population.
Well, and Chad Bird said, wonder when the next round of lawsuits hit after the airing, 10 seconds or 1 day. I think they have been, because they've been contacted so much by some very repetitive communications. I think they're aware. And I think we would have gotten a lot more if not for a couple of apples, because I think they are very strict on what they're going to be able to say definitively or whatever. So that's just my thoughts.
All right.
Well, wait. So C-Star says, but K-Bro, you've already said that Forrest said it was 9 Mile Hole. Right. And the family was clear that they financially did not get enough money to release that video where Forrest goes over it is at 9 Mile Hole. So if you can't get that, you try to get Jack. Maybe Jack will be in it, etc. But yes, that's absolutely what he said. And I think you will see some follow-up. Watch Cynthia's.
No, I'll just say that is secondhand information, though. Did Forrest ever tell you personally it was 9 Mile Hole, Caper?
No, I think the only person he told was his lawyer, maybe the family. The families, they have different statements out about if they know or they don't know. But Carl is the only one, from what I understand, that was told. And then that's why the videos were done where they go over all of it.
Right. Well, I just want to, when C-Star says, but you said Forrest said it, right? He said it to certain searchers in a certain way. It's really not public yet. So, will that be in the doc? I don't know. But we'll have to wait and see. I hope so, but we'll have to wait and see. So I just wanted to point that out. That's all.
Okay, so the second half of that is Justin Posey. Someone tied. Now there's a typo here, which, come on, this is a multi-million-dollar company, right? Like, come on, why do we have to?
That Justin tied up Jack out in 9 Mile Hole. Was tied him to a tree, tied him to the oil tree. Sorry.
Okay, so I need to clarify something before we talk about this. Very surprised Capro and Calazar weren't a part of the documentary. They were a pretty huge part of that. Mike sacrificed for me. I did not want to be in this documentary. There was too many possible negatives. Look at the chaos of some of the crazy birds right now going off. There was a lot of reasons. Mike really wanted to. He thought it'd be a great tribute for his boys to see him in a doc one day. Mike sacrificed for me. They wanted both of us for none of us. And then they did come in at the last minute because you could see a lot that I said, I'm not in it, we're not in it, we're not in it. They came and said, we can't see doing a doc without your at least videos. Can we put some of your videos in? And Mike and I talked.
Oh, you cocksucking nigger.
Like
Gonna fucking slit your throats. God damn you cunt. Fucking nigger honky. I'll fucking kill this goddamn thing. Faggots. At least it's on survival.
So I don't think I would have the concern today that I had years ago, and I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. It may have been a proper decision in the long run, because we would have filmed 3 years ago, and we're still doing a show. We got to keep our mouth shut through an NDA.
So ignorant to
Keep quiet.
how the fish
We
get
would have
out.
edited out of it soon, way years ago. So maybe it was for the best in the long run. I would have liked to have been in it, because I think we were part of the story. You definitely, we through this YouTube channel definitely covered the different angles, right or wrong, and it is what it is, though. But if the soundboard made it, or if any of our clips made it, then that's worth it.
How the fuck? God damn you.
But let me go through chat before we get to the Justin part. How does Cynthia know? Cynthia's seen the video. Okay. Did you just say that the family won't release the Forrest video explained because of money? So Shiloh released a statement that said it was not only money, but it was also some other considerations. It did validate there is a video. Forrest is going over it, and it was money. There was other considerations. Maybe, I don't know. So yes is the answer to that. And Mike and I got called. I think they offered $50,000, and Mike and I were going to try to come up with an extra 20. Mike and I declined that request. We were not going to take out of our retirement Netflix a video that But Shiloh has said he's going to do right by the community and get us all answers eventually. I don't think they'll be in that. Maybe they're coming otherwise. Maybe he's moved on.
So hopefully once the doc is out, maybe Shiloh can then explain a couple of things. Maybe he's under an NDA too. You never know.
No, we can turn that was not closed.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go, Shiloh.
Okay,
Cocksucking
let's go
niggers.
back to the quote, because I think it's super interesting. And no, I don't think it means that Justin tied Jack up. Now Justin did say, back in the day, he asked us if we could get in touch with Jack. And we're like, what are you talking
I'll
about?
fucking slit your goddamn throats. Cunts. I'll fucking kill you niggers. God damn you.
The treasure chest happened. There were additional sections in the contract that basically said
I'm not
Jack's
playing that
story is
goddamn
now
cunt hole.
by Justin. And Carl
Fucking
was the one that
nigger.
originally drafted it. I talked with Justin, and I actually talked on the phone with him, I think that time. Talked with Carl. I didn't even understand why that should be in there. There was some was trying to say, Jack, I'm now going to allow you to tell your story. Please contact me. Now, Justin said he never did, and I don't know. I think Jack might be in it.
That would be a cool twist if Jack was in it, if JCB's in it. If a lot of people that we just, I don't know, they were like, oh, they got so-and-so. That would be cool. All right, and there is the actual chest, obviously. It was the first stand. Obviously, it's not people.
Ivana says, why is this so complicated? Well, a couple reasons. One, Forrest put it in an illegal place, so there were charges that were going to be brought up on both Jack and Forrest. And two, the ending was very muddy. Did he call it off? There was emails that went to Dale that said he was going to call it off, and then Forrest passed. I think that makes it really complicated.
So again, this is just a recreation scene. I know some people have an issue with it, but that's what documentaries do. They recreate things with an actor, obviously. So whatever. Again, until I see it, I don't know.
Now, I do have to say, though, I go back one. Do it with your mouse. I don't really want to. Okay. If this is Forrest putting the in its place, they put a watch on it. That's his whole story. That he's never going to have a watch. He threw the watch in the cornfield. No.
That watch looks pretty weathered. Maybe he retrieved it, because that looks pretty good.
These are the little details. Again, it's like watching a cop show with a cop. These are the little details no one's going to really look at except for us. We know Forrest wouldn't wear a watch. Anyway.
Yeah, that's an actor, obviously, and an actor for the box. Recreation.
Okay, so if you go to Media Center and look at Netflix, here's the description. I did think TVMA is for mature audiences only due to language. You find that funny?
Yeah, we'll see. It's probably Cynthia and that dirty mouth of hers.
Okay. It is a docu-series, and it says season 1, and I did get some clarification on this. Season 1 doesn't mean there's necessarily 100% of season 2. All of them get season 1, and a lot of them are only season 1. So, does it matter that it says season 1 on there? These are the little details I bring to you and you and you and you. Okay, the other thing is, there's lots of controversy, and I was wrong. I thought it was getting dropped midnight Eastern. No, this is from the Netflix website. Everything I give you guys is public information. And they say it's dropping 12 o'clock Pacific. So we're pulling an all-nighter.
Well, I mean, we can watch it, but on the East Coast it's 3 a.m. You might want to get up early and watch it. But yeah, me and K-Pro are going to watch it. I'm definitely calling in sick for work the next day. We're going to be up all night. We watch it first, and we rewatch it and take notes. And then probably go live, what, at 4 a.m.?
Well, so here's the problem. Some people have been talking about watch party, and here's the issue. If we have everybody in the speakeasy, or the let's talk about it, people aren't going to mute their mic, and you're going to be distracted. And then I said, well, what about a text channel? But no offense, it's like watching a football game. I don't want to miss when somebody fumbles and then have to rewind it and all of that. So I'm really at a quandary. We have a month to figure it out. But what to do here, because I don't want to be distracted. I want to watch it the first time with no distraction. Hey, Jared, if you're out there and you want to get it to me a day early so I can do the reviews for it and hold a really great watch party, I would love it. I know that's awesome.
My suggestion is to have a watch party over the weekend. Let everybody have a chance to watch it on their own, but we have a watch party over the weekend for everybody who wants to see it together to talk about it. Because then we can't interrupt it. We can't kind of talk over it.
I like that. I like that a lot. Okay. So it's there. Oh, wait. I gave the Doc TV MMA rating. Originally, my part would have given it a bar rating. Okay. And that's from Cynthia. Okay. So that is the Hearst brothers. And they also have their dad in it. So, yeah. That's them. If you guys are wondering, who is each one? This puts the name, a face to in it.
It'll be interesting to hear their story. I mean, I've heard different rumors about things they did, but I want to see what they actually did. Oh, that's it. Okay. So yeah, happy days, everybody, as I played at the beginning. There were doubters, there were people who didn't believe, but ye of little faith, the day is here. We have a date. Hopefully this weekend we get the trailer. It would be really cool if the trailer drops Saturday. Live.
Oh, you know it. And here's the thing that I think, and you do have a super chat, so get ready to read it. You do need to think, like, okay, those of you who've met Cynthia, the wildest and craziest woman I know, when you look at that sweet picture of her and Forrest next to each other, it doesn't do it justice. But that's why the written word isn't as rich as this trailer is going to be awesome. I'm just excited. I don't even know when it is, and it may make us look silly or stupid or whatever. I'm fine with it. I'm here for it. I know some people are going to love it. I think as a community, we're going to do this right. Some people set the expectations so high that it's going to give us all the answers. I think, though, there's going to be some mic drop. I'm excited. I'm here for it. Okay, Mike, go.
Another super chat from our friend Jennifer with a $10 super chat. Says, how can we not have to find her in the dock? Still lean to the whole thing is a lie. I don't think Forrest Fenn ever thought his lie would go nuts viral. It got found to protect his family before he died. And that's probably going to be a theory in the doc, I would think. Why is Jack not in the doc? Well, one, maybe he is. Maybe that's a big surprise that he is. And two, maybe there's still a reason why Jack will not tell his story. Maybe Jack's actually just for some reason.
Okay, so let me repeat, because I think it'll answer both of you.
Stupid.
Justin made it very clear that Jack is under contract once he sold the chest. Jack is not allowed to speak his story. He sold his story.
How convenient.
along
You guys
with
are
the treasure.
idiots if you believe that shit.
So the reason initially that Jack wasn't in this doc was because Justin said no. Justin was going to be a part of the doc, and maybe I don't know. He wasn't allowed to. And then the only way Jack can talk is to get out of the contract he has with Justin, and Justin would have to change that. Now Justin did say, now that things didn't work out with the family getting us a video, I'm willing to do that. But there was a time, and Jack knew it going in. Here is your money, 1.82 million, whatever it was. And when that money came from Justin or LLC to Jack, Jack knew he was not only selling the treasure, he was selling his story. He's not allowed to speak unless Justin.
But what you just said means it could be a Netflix, possibly. Yeah.
I think I heard there's something mic drop. Someone mic drop. That would be a mic drop. JCB, that'd be a mic drop. I think it could be Jack.
Chad Bird says, well, then it's not a real reason. I got you. But again, we haven't watched it yet. We don't know what we don't know. Give it a chance. At least watch it. And then everybody can give it a opinion. Everybody can say it's the best thing. But just watch it.
So here's my prediction, and you tell me what you think. You have no emotions built in your body, but I do. I have extra. I have yours plus. So I believe I will scream at the TV at one time. I believe I will cry at one time. I believe I will be mad. I believe I will laugh. I believe I will have every set of those emotions during this talk. You probably won't cry. When they go over Forrest passing, I know I'm going to cry. And then that's one of the videos of all of us crying. I don't think you cried. I cried my eyes out. So what do you think? Do you think you're going to have that roller coaster?
Yeah, I do think there'll be a part that's sad. I mean, obviously when he passed. But yeah, it depends how they portray it. It all depends. That's what I'm saying. We don't know anything till we watch it. Thank you for the super chats, everybody.
Steal the Declaration of Independence.
It will be cool to see Forrest. Yeah, exactly.
You have a statement, though. You have a statement.
I miss him, but I think he's dirty as fuck that he
Don't
did that shit.
summarize it. What do you mean summarize it?
Yeah, I gotta summarize it.
No, you can read the whole thing.
Okay, Chad, easy. This sounds like a scam for Justin to make money somehow. If so, honestly, I think people should boycott it. But Chad, you don't know. This is what I don't understand. I've heard different people from different places saying it's going to be horrible. This is not what we want. You don't know until you watch it and give it a chance before you come through with the negative.
But Chad, also, Forrest was talking to these producers back when he was alive. I didn't know that. That was a Dale conversation he was having. And then the family is in it. So if the family's in it, everybody else is in it. It's that's exciting, Luby.
Yeah, that is cool. That's really cool. Hopefully she's in it. Maybe she made a comment or two. That's awesome, Lou. And Lou would definitely have an open invitation to come on the show. Everybody that was in it, you have an open invitation to come on the show at the right time. Okay, so Justin did email me back. It's been a long, winding road with many ups and downs. I'm as anxious as anyone to see how it turned out. I fear some people in the Fenn community will not be pleased with what has been produced. Remember, it's a story made for the majority of the world that has likely never heard of Forrest Fenn. people who believe treasure hunting involves finding a parking space in Manhattan that doesn't require a small mortgage to pay for it. There's only so much you can cram in 3 episodes. And with the average attention span lessening, you've got to keep the momentum going. They got to keep the drama in it to keep people interested. Most things we know and care about is inside baseball for the rest of the world, who are perfectly content playing badminton or whatever it is that normal people do with their weekends. So my hope is that the documentary shows the world the adventure Forrest created for all of us. That's what I said at the very beginning. I hope everyone can keep an open mind, and there you go. So he hopes everybody can keep an open mind on it. I mean, for all our crazy conspiracy theories, we may not be happy with it, but we'll see.
Okay, well, and I'm going to say nobody's going to be happy about anything. This ending made it impossible. And like Alan said, it's been half a decade waiting for it. So, but at this point, I am working with Netflix to get some things that are unique that we can provide. Oh, I'm hoping unique. I do know that I'm assuming all 4 have some additional. They have been given permission to. Cynthia, you finally got permission. You're allowed to say you're in the dock. They have some additional things that they are going to be able to share. So be positive, and I think they have some official things from Netflix that now they can share. So check those socials out, guys. This is how we're going to get the information. And if you do want to come on the show, I am going to say check the contract, make sure it's okay. Different people have different contracts in different language at different times. But the gates somewhat open from what I understand for the main players. I think that's like Mike and I, we wouldn't sign the NDA. So we are allowed to talk about anything, anytime, anywhere, and we don't have any issues. We have issues when someone gives us something and then we can't share it, but that's not the case. I mean, so information's going out.
I've always found these turds annoying. People in this chase.
And there it is. So all we can do is wait for the trailer.
It's like you guys got nothing. And some of us that had something.
When the trailer comes out,
I'm gonna deal with the idiots that stole my sauce.
And let's wait to see it, and then make a decision. If you hate it, hey, that's a valid opinion. You hate it. If you like it, but there should be more in it, there's going to be so many different things.
Good question. CG Doc. I have been told that it's a 3-episode mini doc series, and they will all be dropped at the same time. So you have to wait until whichever show that we're watching right now. So it's 3 episodes, 15 minutes each, and they're going to drop at the same time. So we can do what everyone calls binge watch. We're going to binge watch the heck out of it.
There you go. All right, everybody. Mike and K-Pro are for the people. Well, it's just the docu-series is for the people. It's not for us insiders. It's for the people.
Well, and that's why I want to review as we go, because, like, in a perfect world, if I was in charge of this Netflix doc, would I hold it old and green? No. So I'm not going to give Netflix a pass just because they're using a couple of our videos. Things aren't ideal, but also I have known these people through the years, and including, like, Jared. I've talked on and off with him for at least 4 years. I just think we do need to kind of wait. Yeah, Mr. Beast. Did you guys see Mr. Beast games? It was awesome. They gave away $10 million to the winner, and then millions otherwise. So, but they dropped like a video every week, and you had to wait Thursday night. I hated it. So yeah, Mr. Beast. I've actually been looking a lot into Mr. Beast because of his vision of he is a quite impressive young man, I will say, because he's only like 20. But yeah.
I'll be honest. I'm more excited for the uncertain future of the treasure. What is that all about? What does that mean? Is it will we know? I really want to know that. And this was brought up somewhere, and it's a good point. None of you a-holes out there better watch the last episode and spoil it in Discord. No spoiler alerts allowed on March 27th. At least let 24 hours go by before you start doing spoilers for people. So, no spoiler alerts. Jennifer? You two are the honestly have been the ones that have been the least sus. And of course, Cynthia and Dale. Definitely a lot. I can't wait to hear what Cynthia has to say. Yeah, I'm excited for Cynthia's video after it comes out as well. I mean, that's going to be pretty huge too. But yeah, Cynthia and Dale, they probably spend more time with us than anybody. It's really interesting.
God damn you.
Most of the family was working and doing stuff, and so they got just, I mean, yeah, they spent hours and hours, which is awesome. So again, we're excited. I don't know. I don't know why. I don't think it's going to be the
I just don't know how.
So we don't need, as long as we set our expectations right, why did you get into this stuff? Why are you still here 5 years later? If it's only for answers, you don't need to watch Netflix. You can just wait on something more.
And that's a tough pill to swallow. There won't be any answers. We are almost coming up on 4.5 years after it was found. There's not going to be any answers, people, not in the way that we want. And that's just the reality of the situation. But let's watch a documentary that can celebrate Forrest Fenn, the treasure hunt that he created, and it'll be fun. And that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, any idea why any particular searcher wasn't selected? There were so many things that had to go into, I'm sure. I don't know the answer for sure of why did they pick Cynthia and not somebody else. I believe they needed to have a nice demographic. I think they needed to have a variety of searchers and a particular story, and make sure, like, I don't think we have a couple of very wealthy, very dedicated, very adventurous people like Justin. I don't think you wanted 4 Justins. You have you have 4 different people, so different from each other. I think that's what they wanted to capture. So making that diverse cast, I think would have been, or is part of their focus. I do wish there was a little bit more, I won't even say it.
It's a good way to put it, Davio, but it will be really cool to see people that we know and that we've met. Chad Bird, this is for you.
I'll smack you in the mouth. I'm Neil Diamond.
Neil Diamond, everybody. And maybe there is a cameo in the doc where we'll all be blown away. I hope so. Okay, what do you think? That sums it up, and I got to get out of here, K-Pro. So.
Yeah, and those of you that want to go into Speakeasy, I will be there in 5. We got some kid stuff. I'll be there in 5. Cynthia, you better be in there.
God.
But I need to call you, Cynthia. I'm going to call you in a second first. Okay?
Uh-oh, more secrets from these 2. Just never ends.
You shut your mouth. I'm Neil Diamond.
All right.
I wish you'd get out of my life and shut up.
All right, everybody. Let's all sound please. Can we get a thumbs up for the sound? Subscribe, share, comment, and talk about it, because the 27th is the big day. Me and K-Pro are staying up all night. We will watch it. I just said no spoilers, so I guess that means we can't go live and talk about it for at least a day, but we'll figure all that out.
You fucking idiot.
The trailer, hopefully not Tahoe this weekend. The trailer this weekend, Doug. We hope the trailer will be out this weekend. And will there be more than one? That'll be interesting, too.
I want to
So
buy
remember,
a super
subscribe,
cat.
because any news, we will go live.
Fuck yeah.
And thanks, everybody. We're excited. The day is
You're gonna allow me to, you guys are stupid
days.
cunts. You're gonna let me click the reply, but then tell me I can't. How fucking stupid.
Right? So I think we're going to do our normal show tomorrow. I don't know what it's going to be
I hate
on, but I think
stupidity.
we're going to do it. So we'll see you then. All right, Davio. Alrighty then. See you tomorrow.
Kind of a waste of time, dude. I can't stand these people.
Official announcement, the corrected official announcement. All right, everybody. Here we are. The day has arrived.
Wait, there's music in the background.
Exactly. Because the day has arrived. Oh, ye of little faith. Oh, happy day. The Netflix announcement is...
So you just want to totally demonetize this, huh?
The Netflix announcement is...
So you just want to totally demonetize this, okay.
Alright, the day is finally here. There were naysayers, there were...
Oh, fuck you. Hold on.
everybody. Here we are. The day has arrived.
Wait, there's music in your background.
Exactly. Because the day has arrived. Oh, ye of little faith. Oh, happy day. The Netflix announcement is...
So you just want to totally demonetize this. Okay.
All right. The day is finally here. There were naysayers. There were doubters. But that's okay. It happened anyway. So we actually got the official announcement, the corrected official announcement today. Fine. What do you think of that announcement, Caper?
Well, there's two things I want to say. So some of you saw a press release yesterday. That press release, unfortunately, was some old information. It said Theo Love, etc. That's why we didn't go live, because people actually down and everything was like everything that could possibly go wrong here. It reminded me,
Diva.
Cynthia's back. So we are going to, Cynthia, will you do a speakeasy after? Because some people want to talk to you. Anyway, I have some updates for you before we go into speakeasy, though, that I need to talk to you about before. Okay, so there was a press release yesterday. It was wrong. There's a press release today, and it got picked up by several news outlets. There's pictures there. Yeah, Mike had this, I'm not sure who. Mike had a work emergency. I'm sorry. He's like, I'll get this troubleshooted in a few minutes.
The migrated VM to Azure, and of course there were firewall issues. For those of you in the know, that's bad. So we had to put a Step 1 ticket in to an outside vendor for them to make a change. And now I get to get up at 7 a.m. to find out if that change is done. Anyway, you guys don't want to know.
We don't think about all that Chinese Azure buzz.
That's why we were delayed, so sorry.
Okay, so
Open up trouble like when in
today we're going to go over the press release and some things. So some of the
just to mention that my favorite name and the name of Jesus.
be interesting. Tom Walker is here. Okay. So we are going to go over. We're just going to go over. So I talked about. So the press route yesterday was deleted. I think some people are going to. Some of the outlets. I don't think they even have it. So we shouldn't have any confusion. Theo Love is not back as the director. It's Jared. I will say there is no trailer. The trailer's coming out in a few days, week time frame. A few days. So it is only press, written word, and a bunch of pictures. And they're all up. This is all up. But things that are kind of interesting that we want to talk about. And also, if you do have Netflix, you can. Cynthia was saying earlier, like, she thought that was cute. I like it. Okay, so if you go into your Netflix and you log in, you can actually search for see if you can turn a reminder on. And there is some discrepancy about when it's going to be released, what time, etc. Because you know some of us are going to stay up all night if we have. That's in the PowerPoint. That's in the PowerPoint. There is some additional things that will be coming. I'm working with the actual official Netflix people now. Up until this point, it's been a lot more Jared. But now, so when we get additional stuff, we are going to share it. And then I'll go over, I don't know, I think pretty big things at the very end of where you can also get more information. So go ahead, Mike. That's my long-winded answer.
And here's proof. I'm in my Netflix account. Remind me when it comes out. So it is on Netflix, not just a press release. Not just a press release. This is actually Netflix. And you can say, remind me when it comes out, and all that fun stuff. Okay. I will say this. The people that are already naysaying, out of Netflix, there's some people that are like, oh, just from the description, this is going to be horrible. What? Why? You haven't even seen the doc yet. Why would you formulate
probably because they're smart. Very fucking wise.
I don't understand that. You can express your opinion. Everybody can have an opinion. But I got to reserve it. I mean, I don't know how it's going to be until it comes out.
Yeah, and that's, I do want to dig into some of the wording because, so we're talking about Golden Greed. The FENDOC has finally been announced. It's coming March 27th. And the cool part about it is I think from some of the wording, we can kind of pick into what I don't have any inside access to know exactly about.
You fucking idiot. Get over there, god damn it.
Was announced in the presser. I think we have a lot that we can debate it. That's why I have a PowerPoint.
Am I using that? Yeah, PowerPoint.
Yep, the one that I I'm going to win. The family was supportive. They said that we're gonna love it. There's searchers that I know that I think it's gonna be fun to watch. So I'm reserving, but I also want to dig in. We've got to dig in a little bit because we're excited, and now we have 1 month and 1 day until until Netflix comes out. So we get to speculate.
Okay, Justin's Millions. There's a good name. Let's hope it's Millions, huh? So I did get an email from Justin because K-Pro asked me to reach out and just say, hey, we're going to go live. Any comment? So he does have a comment, everybody. I'm just going to paraphrase.
I was going to say, let me say that to the end.
Ages. Oh, yeah, I can wait.
I have a PowerPoint. I say we do that because I have some things. I had you reach out to certain people. I reached out to certain people.
Okay, so let's wait. Okay, so this is the PowerPoint. Where we go?
Okay, so yeah, I just think, look at this. I call it the money shot. This is so cool, and some people have been super analyzing this. This seems to be the Forrest Fenn motif, not like a Vanetti box or whatever. And it makes sense maybe if Justin's in it, but I was shocked that it's the actual. It seems the motif people are like, it matches. I'm like, yeah. I don't know. I found that awesome. Go ahead, Mike.
Do you think it's just a compass because compass is just a treasure hunting tool, or do you think that means something?
I think that's a clue to Justin's hunt because it's embedded in all this.
Well, it's pointed to the east, so obviously his treasure's on the east coast somewhere. Right, everybody? All right.
Next slide.
That's Justin's hand, right?
I don't know whose hand that is, but these are actual pictures from they're still shots from the episodes. So yeah, the throw of the chase. I mean, that's the start of it all. Between each presser, or each press release news outlet, I put one of these pictures just because they're fun and they're out there and it makes it exciting. Okay, go. You know what? And actually, Paul is bringing out calling it gold and greed makes me think it's just a documentary about those who did something dangerous, etc. This is going to come up more and more, and I actually think it's a really good point. What do you think of the title? Like, I have mixed thoughts about it. I know it's like sexy for Netflix to make it very sensational. What do you think about? Let's just start there. What do you think about Gold and Greed being the name of the Netflix docu-series?
I think it's fine, and I think it sums up the throw of the chase in a very poignant way, because there is a lot of people who went overboard. Why? It could be greed. That could be one reason. I'm going to say overboard, and again, greed, it doesn't necessarily mean a negative thing, but what causes somebody to
It is
do
a negative thing.
What causes somebody
Idiot.
to,
Greed
do
is
some
never
of the things
good.
that were done? Is it greed?
You don't want to
That's
use people
one
for their fucking
possibility. Is
money,
it the
dude.
gold?
Ugh.
It's gold and greed, not gold or greed. So yeah, I have no problem with the title.
Okay, to me, it has a little bit of a negative connotation. When you call someone greedy, that's usually not a compliment. So who's greedy in it? And I know some people went over the top. I mean, it's okay to go 100 boots on the ground. Justin did 200, but he has the means to do it. So I know that that's the case, but I don't know. I wish it was a little more positive, but that doesn't sell in our society. So they came up with it. This got changed. It was Treasure Hunters or Fenn Treasure Hunters, and it got changed very recently.
Plus, Netflix has to market it, and I think more people will tune in. Like, oh, some people got crazy. Let's see. I think it would get more people. Super chat from our old friend, Chatbird.
If you're a Messianic Christian, I know you refer to yourself as a Jew. If you're a Messianic Jew watching this, just to prove to you right now very easily that you are violating this. If you're a Jew, a Messianic, and you're wanting to convert to Judaism, yet you will deny that you believe in Jesus because you'll say, well, his name's not Jesus, it's Yeshua, but you'll deny believing in the New Testament figure just to get a conversion. But that's deception. And also, Jesus even said that, if you deny before men, I will deny you before my Father in heaven. So you're throwing away your salvation anyway. So you might as well just give up Jesus anyway and just convert to Judaism and be done with it. broadcasting live out of Kingsland, Texas, USA. TNT, the Twisted New Testament. Rabbi Stewart, the man better from the Big H, Houston, Texas. Welcome back. I'm not going to say. I'm not. You heard it in your head anyway, didn't you? That's just too funny. It'll never get old for me. There you go. So, yeah, welcome back, guys. Glad to see everybody here today. Let me pause this music so it doesn't leak through the background.
So, William, when you first started, what did you say TNT stood for?
The Twisted New Testament. And it still stands for that. We took it off of there for a while because we were trying to not be too offensive, but I had to put it back.
Well, we were trying to replace it with Judaism and Christianity, A Contrast, which is the title of my first book.
Yes, but now you have 2 books. So,
Yes, I do.
yes, so talking about the Twisted New Testament.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, that's funny. So here we go. Speaking of which, since you just mentioned him, bring him up, baby.
Wait a minute.
That's the way. He likes it.
We got the Portuguese. Here we go with the English. Ta-da!
Ta-da. There you go.
Tanog.
Available on.
Tanog.
Are those available on Kindle? I don't know. Are they?
Definitely. Well, yeah. Amazon Kindle, right?
Oh, cool. It's like audiobook. That's cool. Nice. Wait. Well, yeah. Amazon Kindle. I think you can audio. So that's cool. Nice. Yeah. All right. Cool. All right. So the label for the show is Jewish Objections to Jesus. However, that's just the title. It'll cover all this. But in fact, it'll cover it in your rebuttal to this email information you received from a pretty kind of roughhousing skeptic, someone who is not, from what you said, is not the most polite person you've ever engaged with. So,
No, I just stopped engaging with him.
okay. So go ahead and lay it out for us, and I'll follow you along.
Well, like William was saying, there's a gentleman, and I use the term really loosely, who is Christian. He calls himself a Messianic. He calls himself a Messianic Jew. He says very outlandish things with absolute confidence that what he says is the total truth, the gospel truth, pardon the expression. And very recently he had a essay on his page that really was an attack on counter-missionaries, and I wanted to respond to it, but I will not respond on his Facebook page. One, it's his Facebook page. If he were part of the group, that's one thing. But I'm not going to waste my time on his Facebook page because I don't know how he can take what I say and abuse it, but not give me a chance to respond to it. Because I've seen him and his ilk do things like that, shall we say.
Sure.
Because I've seen him and his ilk do things like that, shall we say.
Sure.
Yeah. So, ilk do things like that, shall we say.
Sure.
Yeah.
Hold on.
And his ilk do things like that, shall we say.
Sure.
Yeah. So, William is going to put up on the screen his essay, and I don't know if he wrote the essay or if he's quoting somebody else's essay. It's very not clear on the way he did this post on his page.
And
so,
no pun intended, and we don't know if he is an essay or not. I'm just kidding. Hey, if he was Sephardic, you could call him an essay.
Okay.
Bad joke.
All right.
Bad joke. Okay.
So this is his essay that he put up there, which I'm going to read through and then respond to.
One little bit at a time, right?
One little bit at a time. So, all right. Okay, let's go through this. The topic of missionary activity towards Jews is a highly sensitive issue, and rightly so. Deceptive missionary tactics, wherein individuals falsely present themselves as observant Jews while secretly seeking to convert other Jews, are a profound violation of truth and integrity. Such actions are not only dishonest, but also constitute a severe desecration of God's name. there is no justification for deceit in religious matters, and any attempt to lure Jews under false pretenses is utterly reprehensible. This is worst off. He writes a paragraph, or he puts up somebody else's paragraph that makes this statement that makes me think he never read his own New Testament.
I was going to ask you, from what you just said, if he wrote this, why would he write this if he himself is a missionary?
Because he doesn't think that what he does is deceptive. He thinks that it's okay to say, well, my religion says I'm grafted in, so therefore I'm grafted in, and I'm just as much a Jew as you are, and I can be a Messianic Jew even though nobody in my ancestry, or maybe my DNA says somebody was Jewish. I don't even remember what his particular circumstances are, and I don't care.
Right.
I'm coughing already. All right. So, when he makes a statement that deceptive missionary tactics have no place in missionizing, has he read Paul? Paul?
Right. Okay, so we're going to respond to that first paragraph now, correct?
Yes. My question is very simple. How can he make the statement, there's no justification for deceit in religious matters? It makes me wonder has he even read his own Paul? So, for example, 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verses 19 to 22.
Okay.
1 Corinthians chapter 9, 19 to 22.
Okay.
For though I be free from all men, yet have I made myself servant unto all, that I might gain the more. And unto the Jews I became as a Jew, that I might gain the Jews. To them that are under the law, as under the law, that I might gain them that are under the law. Verse 21. To them that are without law, as without law, being not without law to God, but under the law to Christ, that I might gain to them that are without law. To the weak became I as weak, that I might gain the weak. I am made all things to all men, that I might by all means save some. So the ends justify the means to him, and he's talking deceptive practices.
Right.
Pretend to be a Jew to the Jew, pretend to be under the law to those under the law, pretend to be without law to those who are without law, to the weak, pretending you're weak to gain the weak. I mean, I don't see how you can get anything clearer than this, that Paul is writing in favor of deceptive practices if it gets people to convert. Okay, next one from Paul, because there are no less than four different quotations from Paul where he is justifying deceptive practices that the gentleman who wrote this says there's no justification for deceit in religious matters. So in Philippians chapter 1 verse 18, Paul writes, what then, notwithstanding every way, whether in pretense or in truth, Christ is preached, and I therein do rejoice, yea, and will rejoice. So he's putting a juxtaposition between pretense on one hand and truth in the other, and saying both are okay if it gets people to convert.
Right.
Now, there's a controversial statement in Romans chapter 3, verse 7. Okay? Paul makes the statement, quote, for if the truth of God hath more abounded through my lie to God's glory, why yet am I also judged as a sinner? And there are Christian apologetics for this verse, and they may be correct if you look at it. Okay, to be honest, where Paul, when he writes in Romans chapter 3, verse 7, for if the truth of God has more abounded through my lie to God's glory, why yet am I judged a sinner? He is actually responding to people who might actually say this, to contradict them. However, with the other two quotations we've already stated, we've already read, and the following one I'm going to, read, which is 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 16. 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 16. Even though it appears that Paul is quoting people who might say this in Romans 3:7, he may actually believe it himself, because in context of everything else I'm reading, it would fit. So Paul in 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 16 writes, but be it so, I did not burden you. Nevertheless, being crafty, I caught you with guile. So, however you want to understand Romans 3:7, if you look at 2 Corinthians Corinthians 12:16, Philippians 1:18, and 1 Corinthians 9:19 to 22, Paul clearly is justifying and rationalizing deceptive practices, which our author of this essay specifically said there's no justification for deceit in religious matters. So makes me wonder, in his attack on Jews for what they believe and for counter-missionaries for defending Judaism and God and the Bible, okay, then it's, yeah, all right.
You fucker.
Paul was bragging about his craftiness and his use of guile, okay? Messianic Jews, and I'm talking about Messianic Jews. I'm not talking about, what I say. I'm talking about what Messianic Jews say about these paragraphs, about these verses from the original New Testament that Paul wrote. They are the ones who use them to justify their deceptive practices. This is how they understand what Paul wrote. So often in literature on like how to missionize the Jewish people, they will include at least 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 20 and following. All right. So I'm referencing their literature and what they wrote about these quotations, right, rationalizing and justifying deceptive practices because the ends justify the means. Okay? And what about Jews who have never been start over. What about Christians who have never been Jewish, who have no ancestry who are Jewish, who give themselves Jewish-sounding names in order to make themselves sound Jewish, even though they're Christian?
Kind of like Simon, Peter, Kepho, whatever.
Well, I'm thinking more like somebody named Lloyd Carson, who decides to change his name to Tuvia Zaretzi. Tuvia Zaretzi, head of Jews for Jesus, Los Angeles.
Gotcha.
Okay?
Gotcha.
Born with the name Lloyd Carson. And then he claims that, his Hebrew name, his Jewish name when he was Jewishly born, which I don't think I've ever seen proven.
Talk to you in a bit. Hold on. Okay.
Just from the view of their targets, the Jewish community.
Like, comment, subscribe. I'll catch you in the next video. I gotta take care of something. Peace.